Hello, this is Dr. Wendy Rowley, and this is the New Connection, episode 3. There's a lot of information percolating in between the 3 series that are going on at this time, the Heartfield series, the New Potential, and the New Connection, this one. And they all sort of segue on each other. So if you are finding this one sort of percolates in you to feel a little juicy and inspires you, you can always check out some of the information in those other ones. We want to keep these for your busy day short and sweet. So I'm going to get out of the way, let her bring forward her information. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you very much. Okay, what do we got today? I can't wait to find out. Oh, good day to you, dearest beings of light. I'm Allaenea of Cosmic Service, Pleiadian Mother of Sound. Peace be with you, peace be with you, peace be with you. This one has the ability in her high Akash to be a translator for light language frequencies. She had no idea of this. This is new. And you're going to allow us to have a little aside for her, if you don't mind. So she has the ability to translate light language frequencies, which many do, but she's able to translate hers through pictures and sound, which is a little more unique in that she can do both at once. So in her sound healing, she has the ability through her sound to help humans create a picture. This is part of the old abilities that you had in other Renaissance times, such as Greece or the Roman or the Egyptian, or even the Italian Renaissance had a little bit more of that time frame, but it was waning. But in those earlier times, humans had the ability with a word or a sound to stimulate the creational forces of other souls to see a picture, or to understand a concept as a picture, or to understand a large idea in a simple way. And so this one has that. So in this new potential, we're going to do something she did not expect today, as well as give the talk. So this will be a hair bit longer. But what we're going to do is to have her do her sound work and set a vibration for this particular episode. And then we will come in and give the information for the episode. So if you will bear with her for this unexpected and surprising event, let that happen. It won't be long. You're welcome to close your eyes, get into your meditative state, get in your heart, get in gratitude, get in joy, and just relax and see how you feel with the sound that comes through. All right, and then we will return. All right, dearest beings of light. This is Allaenea of Cosmic Service, Pleiadian Mother of Sound. She must turn on the audio for musicians, so you saw her doing that, or the sound does not register on this tape. It is still set, and we have seen that the recording of the voice still comes through. And if it doesn't, for some reason, we will percolate another recording on top of this, and you might see her mouth moving with the recording not matching. And if it does, then they will be in sync. But just so you have understanding of that in this particular episode of the New Connection. So what we wished you to know this day about the new connections is there is a profound and new connection at this exact time in your real-time environment of, get out of the way, dear one, you don't have to remember the date, we know it, of September 1st, 2023, where there have been connections at the greater field, the soul group level, where you all share a higher self soul group spirit body. We have said in the past there's 3 of these soul group higher self spirit bodies. One on the human crystalline grid at the higher level, one on the interim creational grid or interim Christ grid or interim soul creational grid, and one in the master grid or the Christ grid or the soul mastery grid is your soul. But on the soul group level in the field, so you don't have one at the master grid level, a soul group, but in the field you have a correspondence to that. And we did not state that clearly before. So you have a soul group higher self for the higher level of the human crystalline or human consciousness grid, the one that has the karmic band of tribes, nations, and large family group creations. And you have one in the interim grid between the Master Christ grid or the Soul Mastery grid and the human crystalline grid. There's a soul group higher self body there. And then your collective soul group energy out in the greater field, outside all of your 26-foot wide aura bands, at this level of tribes, nations, and large family soul groups, in the band around the planet, there is a soul group spirit body. And in that soul group spirit body out in the greater field, 2 new connections have been made. One is to we call it the Supreme Being Engine, or the heart of the Supreme Being Creator, or the heart of divine intelligence, or the heart of the creational aspects of the Creator. However you want to imagine this picture to be, there's a connection there that's been made. And to the greater universal life force, there has been another connection that has been made. What this allows is for humans to have greater creational potential percolating in over the next 50 to 200 years and on. It's allowing for greater human creational potential. So what we wish you to know this day is that the ability to do profound soul group healing is here. The ability to come together and work as soul groups in the mundane world is here. And the ability to bring in higher levels of creation through the time capsules is a potential that is here. So the silic potential of the time capsules, it's silic, it's purposeful. Now the time capsules are all of our enlightened information that we have gathered up off of our final grid. Well, we still have a higher level of a grid at the Pleiades, but it's our soul creational grid, our interim soul creational grid, like we're describing. You have one. And we gathered everything up from there. We brought it to this system, and we laid it out about 400,000 years ago. You maybe arrived 26 to 30,000 years ago. And it took that long of interdimensional work and percolating to get this system all up and running. So the ability for you to create at the group level is changing. The ability for you to see things anew is changing. And the time capsules, based on setups since 2012, are percolating out our information now. But it comes in a silic flow and in an impulse flow from the creative source in that greater field. So the connections there have been strengthened, which means that deeper levels of information can be brought in. So often there are precursors that come to show people what is potentially possible for things that might come. And sometimes there is also consciousness precursors of different changes of thoughts and ways of thinking and consciousness for ways of looking at things, like your earth, or the way corporations can work together without profit being the main motive, but solution being a potential of the greater focus. You're going to see changes as soon as a decade, and some of them not for another couple hundred years. But the potentials for a great renaissance are here. For in every great renaissance, why you create, such as in times gone by, like we mentioned in other renaissances, those renaissances in those high creating create another level of gold that's used at each renaissance, why that renaissance creates another level of gold. And if you want to think of the idea of pay it forward, soul group work and creation is the ultimate pay it forward. It really is. So everything you do in benevolence serves the greater good on the other side of the veil for the angelic kingdoms to use in their creating. So we're saying that the ability to do profound work at the soul group level is coming. And it's why there is the new flavor of the indigos that came in. They were identified by a woman named Nancy Ann Trapp. This one had the amazingly coincidence, synchronicity of going to see her in a lecture in the 80s at a NYU professor's apartment who was interested in her work. And she was studied to have her optic nerve switched such that she could see the human auric field. And she was able to identify soul group colors of people who came in under particular colors. And she had a lot of fascinating information she shared. And she spoke about the indigos, a new color that she started to see come in a little bit in the 50s. Well, we say they actually came in even as far back as the 20s and into the 50s and the 60s. And it is said that all those born after 2020 have the indigo consciousness. And some people say 2000, but we say 2020 for a particular reason, at a creational level for the indigos. For the early indigos were not that functional. They were precursors. And what they do is they pave waves of soul forces percolating through higher levels of fibers to prepare for the true soul group creational ability. So that's an example of precursors. And so now everyone coming in will be of a higher vibration within the Indigo family, because that is the frequency vibration for the collective, and that is needed for where you are in your evolutionary process. So it doesn't mean that you won't have a soul group flavor of a particular ray color, if you want to think of it that way as an analogy, which is maybe particular traits or particular interests or particular callings, or there is an overarching soul group flavor that has coincidences. This one once met a girl who had her exact same birthday, and their stories were amazingly similar. She thought that was fascinating because that's an interesting thing to compare. And so there are flavors to soul groups, but there is an overarching creational soul group. And so Nancy Ann Trapp didn't quite specify the differences between some of these things she saw, because the understanding of the spiritual anatomy was not as advanced as it is now. And that was in the 70s and 80s they did that work. And now, 90s, 2000s, 2020s, 30 years later, there's a lot more understanding and information coming forward, and new healing modalities coming forward using new parts of the spiritual anatomy that are enlivening that understanding. So we wished you to have understanding that the ability to do profound group creating and cooperative group creating and solution group creating, as well as individuals still percolating in the ideas for creations, is increasing, and the ability for healing is increasing. And we wanted you to know that there are amazing things going on at the higher realms, from the angelics through to the higher creational beings of light, such as us, to prepare for your enlightenment process for the next 500 million years, even though this is a small frame that we are giving about 200 in most of these talks. We hope you are inspired. We hope you are uplifted. We hope you see yourself in a new and a magnificent way, as this one says, in the wonder of your human design, for you are indeed divine. Peace be with you. All right, that's the New Connection, episode 3. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And as I said, occasionally remind you all, the website link is in the banner, not in the banner anymore, but in the space below the banner. They changed it and put it down there. It's a little more visible based on the colors of people's banners, I think. Probably why they did it. And so if you want to ask anything or have a comment you'd like to not put on the public web, there's plenty of contact forms in there. And that is another avenue for you. I'll be starting up some work in January that's free for the public. It'll be the beginning of the clearing of the human consciousness grid, and it is the Great Global Healing Party. It's going to have wonderful speakers and guests, topics, and people premiering their work, which is all juicy and spiritual, and from a variety of people, from doctors all the way through to healers and shamans. So I hope you will join us in January 22 to 26, 2024, and at every equinox and solstice when we do these free online soul group healings of the human consciousness grid. Thank you for listening and have a great time. See you next episode.